You're watching the Daily Climate Show on Sky News. On today's programme, the Met Office issues its first ever extreme heat warning as parts of the UK bake in record temperatures. As European leaders say more action is needed to tackle global warming following devastating floods, we look at what can be done to adapt to our changing climate. And will Tokyo 2020 be the most sustainable Olympics yet? I'll be speaking to athlete and environmental campaigner Paula Radcliffe. Hello and welcome to the UK's only daily climate news show, where we track the changes happening to our world right now and we meet those coming up with the solutions. Now, the Met Office will issue its first ever extreme heat warning today in the UK as temperatures in parts of the country continue to soar. Extreme heat episodes in the UK are becoming more frequent and prolonged and can lead to increased energy use, wildfires and problems as well for the health service. Well, our correspondent Milena Veselinovic joins me now. Milena, what's going on?
Well, the Met Office has introduced this warning together with Public Health England for the first time this year in order to increase preparedness and raise awareness of the dangers that extreme heat can bring to health, to infrastructure. Some of those things, as you mentioned, are increased traffic to coastal areas, people trying to cool off by the sea perhaps, increased energy consumption, using air conditioning units perhaps, which is something that we hadn't really used in this country before. There's risk of wildfires. There's risk of people presenting with health problems related to heat to hospitals, which could put a strain on them and potentially lead to premature deaths. So this is all very concerning because the Met Office says that these episodes are becoming hotter, they're becoming more frequent and more prolonged. We do know that this warning has been issued for South Wales, West Midlands, South West England and further east into Hampshire as far as the Isle of Wight. It is valid from now until the end of Thursday, when the heat is expected to start breaking down a bit.
All right, so be careful. Milena, thank you. Now, Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel says that her country must do more to tackle climate change. That's after record floods caused the country's worst natural disaster in nearly 6 decades. As the waters recede and clean-up operations begin, the focus now turns to how to ensure disasters like this can't happen again, as Jonathan Samuels reports.
In Germany's Ahr Valley wine region, they live and work close to nature. They're also at her mercy. Vineyard owner Frank Josten believes he's a victim of our reluctance to adapt to climate change. His home, his award-winning winery, his wife's business, all but destroyed in minutes. A community shattered.
We know a lot of people in that house over there, and that house over there, and the down level, so they died, the people. All the people died.
Chancellor Angela Merkel warns we must adapt to a world where natural disasters happen with greater frequency and intensity.
We have to hurry. We have to get faster in our fight against climate change. And I believe that the European Union is working on just that.
It's a message heard clearly here.
We are not safe. Nature is stronger than we are. Yeah, and that's the main message, and that we see that we can work with that. Yeah, we have to find our agreements with the nature.
How we manage our rivers, build our towns, use our land and conserve water are more crucial than ever. Being proactive rather than reactive will save money and lives.
Despite all these regulations, they aren't always followed. People still build in floodplains. Is it the same complacency? Is it the same lack of awareness which, leads us to make the same mistake over and over again?
Cutting CO2 emissions is key to tackling climate change. But with Earth's temperature already now above 1 degree Celsius, we have to modify how we live our lives to avoid pain like the Josten family is going through. Jonathan Samuels, Sky News, Ahr Valley in Germany.
Now, with the impacts of climate change already being felt around the world, it's not enough to just focus on reducing emissions and limiting global warming. Adaptation and mitigation are important to allow people to live with our changing climate instead of being forced from their homes by it. For example, in the United States, Miami Beach has been called the ground zero of sea rise, but the Rising Above programme aims to mitigate against the worst effects. It includes elevating roads to fit new drainage systems underneath, building seawalls and using data on ocean levels to decide the height of new buildings. And intense heat waves are becoming more common due to climate change. In Paris, a city-wide network of cooling islands is being built, including spaces such as parks and pools linked by cool walkways. And the Alentejo region in Portugal is experiencing less rain, more frequent droughts and substantially hotter temperatures. And the city of Évora is using underground water sources for irrigation, while nature-based solutions such as more trees help provide shade and improve flood resilience. And 2/3 of Bangladesh is less than 5 metres above sea level, so it's vital that people there find ways to adapt. In the village of Kalabogi, homes have been lifted onto bamboo stilts to help keep them dry. And in the UK, a 20-year project on the Norfolk Broads is stopping homes and farmland from flooding. More than 240 kilometres of flood banks are being upgraded using reused and reclaimed materials, while a 10-kilometre stretch is being replaced with reed banks and lagoons. And of course, technology is going to play an increasingly key role in fighting climate change and adapting to its impacts. And today, a new climate action group called SUBAC has been launched to help fund high-tech solutions to the climate crisis. Baroness Bryony Worthington is one of the founders, as well as one of the lead authors of the 2008 Climate Change Act, and she joins me now. Baroness Worthington, really good to talk to you. I was mentioning the launch today of SUBAC, but you already have technology within it, don't you, that's helping to combat climate change?
Yes, that's right. Thank you. We've set up an accelerator to help not-for-profit enterprises who want to make a difference on climate change to collaborate and to gain access to professional skills so that they can become more impactful. They're calling it the Climate SUBAC. It's based on an old idea of how you need to collaborate to enable everyone to thrive. And we're really excited. We've got 5 really exciting organisations that are kicking us off as the founding members.
When you see the scenes of devastation across Europe with the flooding at the moment, are there technological solutions that you envisage being able to help prevent that kind of thing happening?
So we are now into the age of consequences. Scientists have been warning us of this for decades, and we've been incredibly slow to act. And now really we've got to double down on both predicting how bad things are going to get, how quickly, preventing the worst from happening, and then surviving through what's inevitable. So that kind of predict, prevent and survive motto has to be ingrained in everything that we do. And we are still, in the foothills really of understanding this problem. It's really complicated. The scale of change that we need to adapt to is going to be extraordinary, and it's all happening in a timescale I think that even the scientists are quite surprised by the speed. So it's quite a serious effort, and the fact that it's taken severe events in Northern Hemisphere countries like Canada, like Germany, to sort of put this on their front headlines, it is quite astounding, because these sorts of impacts have been coming for many years, but they've perhaps not been taken as seriously as they should have done. So if this does act as a wake-up call, that's great, but we should have really heeded these warnings a long time ago.
OK, Baroness Bryony Worthington, really good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, in today's other climate news, thousands of hectares of land are engulfed in smoke in Siberia as authorities tackle 187 forest fires there. The Kremlin has blamed the unprecedented wildfires on unusually high temperatures and climate change. The blazes mean that permafrost beneath the ground is at risk of starting to thaw, which could release huge amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. The US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate will visit the UK tomorrow. John Kerry will make a speech at the Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, about the urgency of global climate action before travelling on to Rome and Naples to attend the G20 ministerial meeting on environment, climate change and energy. He'll then return to London for discussions about the COP26 climate conference, which is being held in Glasgow in November. And Formula One driver Sebastian Vettel has been photographed litter picking after the British Grand Prix. The four-time world champion swapped his helmet for bin bags to help cleaners with the mammoth task after 140,000 fans watched yesterday's race. Earlier this month, Vettel created a bee hotel and over the course of the race weekend talked about his commitment to finding long-lasting solutions for sustainability. Now, the Tokyo Olympics start this week and organisers have said that they hope it will be the most sustainable Games yet. Well, they're using carbon credits to offset emissions, claiming that this could mean the first ever carbon negative Olympics. The medals that will be awarded to athletes will use precious metals extracted from used electronics, and competitors will even be sleeping on cardboard beds. However, a study published in the journal Nature found that from 1992 onwards, Olympic Games have been getting steadily worse for the environment as events become bigger and more ambitious. Well, Olympian and environmentalist Paula Radcliffe is hoping that the Games will inspire us not only to get active, but also to go green. Paula Radcliffe joins me now. Hello, good to talk to you, Paula. I know you've been working with Nationwide, trying to encourage people to make their own homes greener. What have you made of the Tokyo Games green credentials?
Well, I think it's all a step in the right direction. I think that the awareness amongst the whole population, but certainly amongst athletes, is really moving much more to appreciate the environment. If anything, I think the pandemic has taught us to see how important it is to do what we can now to preserve the environment. It's not for our futures, it's for the futures of our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. And that's why it's a huge honour for me to be working with Nationwide on this programme, because the research that they have done shows that 76% of us are already not using single-use plastics anymore. They already know how to change on that, but people just aren't as aware. And I do think it's more of a misunderstanding of what needs to be done in our own homes, and maybe an overestimation of the cost as well.
Now, the Tokyo Games has a global stage, doesn't it? It's a great opportunity to get some green messaging out there. What are some of the challenges with an event that size of keeping it green?
Well, I think, as you talked about at the beginning, the challenge as the Olympics have grown is that people still need to congregate in one place. People want to go and watch it, and then that has to be then beamed and sent all over the world, and all of that costs a lot in terms of energy. And so I think this year is certainly helped, if you like, by the fact that it is not a normal Olympics. There aren't the numbers travelling out there that there would normally be. And so I think that will help to contribute to making it more sustainable. And just even the fact that we're thinking about it, that making those small steps, for me, that's always preferable than doing nothing. Even if we look at it and think it's a huge task to get it anywhere close to net zero for the Olympics, so let's not even try. I'd rather try and do small amounts. And I'm sure if everybody feels like that, then all of our small amounts together, that's why we're stressing what we can do.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint, as they say. Paula Radcliffe, good to talk to you.
Definitely. Thank you.
Well, that is everything from us for today. Coming up on the Daily Climate Show tomorrow, how the drinks industry is going green. You can find out more here tomorrow on Sky News. Thanks for watching.